there at Zoom. Ironically, I'm a digital lead in my trust. So first of all, my name is Sharon Price. I'm a registered nurse, district nurse by background, but I'm currently working in the development and partnerships team here at Sussex Community Foundation Trust. So one of the biggest programmes that I've been working on is the enhanced health and care homes over the last 4 years now, nearly, 4 years. And so the care home matrons are a team of clinicians that the service we pulled together and designed alongside primary care. And so hopefully you all have a care home matron and you all know who they are and that they are doing a good job. If they're not, feel free to let me know, because I will pass that on to the people that need to know it. So one of the really important programs that I've been excited to be involved in from the beginning, really, so over the last 2 years, is it was originally called remote monitoring, so you may have heard of it like that previously, but with as with everything, it needs to change, so we're now calling it telehealth, which is the same thing, it's just a different title. So telehealth for care homes is basically, in Sussex, there was a programme, I think maybe 5 or 6 years, it was definitely just before pre-COVID times, that one of the CCGs led with primary care. So the GPs were involved around, they got some WHZAN boxes, the blue boxes, and worked with the GPs in care homes to supply those boxes to you, and then the GPs were the ones that kind of held clinical responsibility and would log into the systems. I think COVID came along towards the end of it, so they kind of had to shelve it because everybody involved obviously then got moved into other things, as we all did. So we picked up the mantle a little bit from that original CCG programme. They gave us their old boxes and we gave them back out again, and then we were like, oh, these are good, so we'll get some more. So we managed to get some funding, and we have 148 WHZAN boxes, which at its absolute peak, we were in just over 50% of nursing homes in Sussex, where SCFT footprint sits. The ESH team over kind of Eastbourne, East Sussex, have boxes there as well, but I know that they're doing it slightly differently to the way that we're doing it. But there still are boxes knocking around. If any of you are in that area and you wanted one, you could always contact your local, what are they called, clinical lead nurses, who do the same job as our care home matrons. So that's kind of a little bit of background for you. So I've got a slide deck. I'm not going to go through it because I know we all get a bit bored of like PowerPoint presentations, but we will share it afterwards. So there will be more details. You'll be able to see what the actual WHZAN box itself is. So it's a blue plastic box that contains a tablet and blood pressure cuff, thermometer. Some of them have glucose monitors, but we take those out because we know that most care homes don't do their own glucose monitoring, so it would be pointless giving one to you. It would just get lost, as they did when I was given the box, and I'm like, oh, what did I do with the box? But and also oxygen saturation finger probe comes with it. So the idea is that the WHZAN system is designed to be used by non-clinicians in a non-clinical setting. So they're very simple. You put them on, you turn them on, and then they do everything else. And all of the information, like the blood pressure, the oxygen saturation, and the temperature, that detail all gets sent via Bluetooth directly into the tablet itself. So there's no writing down, there's no writing on the back of a hand or on a piece of paper that gets scrunched into a pocket, or in my old days on a glove that I then threw away, that remembered I'd forgotten because it was all written on the glove. So it kind of all is automatically uploaded into the tablet. And alongside that, there's a soft signs assessment process that you can go through on the tablet that literally is it's a touch screen. So it's just I always say Fred and Elsie are my favourite people in care homes. I don't know why, they just seem like nice names. But so is Fred well this morning? And the answer is yes, or the answer is no. If it's a no, it then automatically drops you into a set of questions. So has Fred eaten his breakfast? Yes, no. Has Fred had his bowels open? Yes, no. etc., etc. So it's designed to be used by people that don't really have any clinical assessment skills or background. Sorry, skills is the wrong word. Everybody has assessment skills, but they're not clinicians in essence. So what it then does is it collates all of that information, and it then produces a News 2 score, which is automatic. So you go through all of it and it gives you your score at the end, which is really helpful. And it also gives you just a little bit of an algorithm of what do you want to do if you've answered that, yes, Fred's not, no, Fred isn't very well, and no, he hasn't eaten, no, he hasn't had his bowels open, etc. It does give you a little bit of an algorithm of, well, this is probably what you need to do. And which is really helpful for those people that perhaps are new to the job or don't work necessarily their agency or bank staff that have come in and they're not used to your people or your processes. That 3 o'clock in the morning agency nurse that's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this. But by utilizing WHZAN, they actually have a process by which they can go through it, and then at the end of it they actually have some concrete information that they can then either work out for themselves and say, oh, actually, I can see what this is. Probably I just need to make sure that Fred has a bit more, let's get some fluids in, give him a drink. Maybe he hasn't eaten. Let's see if he's hungry, et cetera, et cetera. Or if to the other extreme where, Fred's normal News 2 is a 2, but then all of a sudden it's coming out as a 5. We will help to create really clear escalation processes in conjunction with each individual home, utilising the teams that are around you. So your care home matron will be named into that escalation process. Your GP will be made aware that there is a WHZAN box in use and this is the escalation process. Anybody that's in an MDT around your care home will also be given that same information. So that, and for you within the care home, it means that you're really secure in the knowledge that no matter who's looking after your people, no matter what time of day, by following that process, you have some confidence that the same thing and the same actions will be taken pretty much every time. And also so the local ambulance service, CCAM, they're very enthusiastic about the use of telehealth and different monitoring systems and different apps. I don't know if you've heard of iStumble, that's kind of been in use for a while in different areas. So they're really on board with it all. So when you have to call CCAM and you say, actually, we've got WHZAN, and they'll be like, oh, that's excellent. Can you give us the information, that you've gathered from it? What's the News 2 score, etc., etc. Then it changes that conversation that you can have with your clinical teams that sit around you, so that there's always the spidey senses that tingle when you know that somebody's not quite right, and you can call up whoever and say, well, Fred's been this, we're not sure what it is, but we know that there's something not right about him. That conversation can change, and you can say, we know there's something wrong with Fred. We don't know what it is, but he was a 2 this morning. He's now showing as a News 2 score of 5. He's not eaten, he's not had his bowels, he's not passed urine. So that changes that conversation really, really quickly, so that the clinician or whoever's on the end of that phone call will be able to make a much more concise assessment as to who and what needs to come in your direction. And our care home matrons are also fully versed on how WHZAN works. And so when you're having a conversation with a care home matron, one of the things that we do ask is that you allow the care home matrons to log into your unit, so your caseload that's held within WHZAN in the portal, so that they can actually also see what you've put in there. They can see what you see, and they can look back at what's been going on with Fred over the past 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 weeks. And then that will also really help them to say, right, actually, I'll come out, I'll be there today. Or they might say, well, this is what I recommend you do for now. Call me back if there's any issues, or etc. They will be able to have a much clearer understanding of what it is that Fred will need, but also of what you need from them, because it might be that they aren't always the right people, but they will be able to know from that conversation who the right people will be. So the other really exciting thing is, for those of you who may or may not have your digital social care records implemented yet, is that WHZAN is working really closely with most of the providers who are currently providing in Sussex. So Nourish and I think PCS are now on board, so that if you've got Nourish or PCS, as your electronic patient or record, whatever we call them, patient records. So your electronic kind of record, if you're using the WHZAN kit and it goes into your portal, that will automatically be accessible into your Nourish or into PCS. The other thing is that it's also automatically, once the care home matron has access, it then will automatically be pulled into our SCFT's System 1 unit, which means all the GPs can also then see that information. So we've managed to build bridges. I don't know how it works. All I know is that there are bridges that go between each of the systems, and then it automatically can be seen in each of the systems, which is quite revolutionary actually for Sussex, because there aren't many other areas of the country that have linked up through any of their health and social care teams. So the community teams can't always see what goes on in a care home because, you know, we don't have the same records. Lots of the GPs in other areas don't have access to the community service systems because they don't have access there either. So actually Sussex have done some really good work. I mean, Nada herself has worked so very hard in encouraging people to take up the electronic records, because just the access to information is so vital. I remember when we first got ours in the community, being able to see the GP record and to understand what's been happening to somebody outside of us it revolutionized how we were able to look after people, because all of a sudden you're not blind, you're not going in with no information. You can see what medication they've had, you can see if they've been prescribed antibiotics recently, you can see which other professional teams have been in to see them and or are, you know, currently actively involved with them. So, and I know that you will hold lots of that information anyway, because obviously you completely know what's going on with all of your residents in a way that none of us ever will be able to know. You are definitely the experts in that kind of area, but for you to be able to see what other clinical teams are saying, doing, and will be doing it's invaluable. Or I can't stress enough how invaluable it is, really. And WHZAN is just another one of those kind of bridges that will help to kind of share that information amongst everybody. The thing that I'm always very keen to kind of help people understand is that when you register any of your residents within the WHZAN kind of portal, you own every single piece of information about that person. So you control who sees it, you control who have access to it. So nobody can accidentally wander into your caseload in WHZAN. They can only do that if you have given them permission, and you would do that by contacting WHZAN. There's an email, you just drop them a line and say, please may you give so-and-so access to our caseload in WHZAN, and then it's an automatic process that our care home matrons have all got kind of like generic logins that then they just get given a specific access to your particular one as and when you give it to them. So any information that you collect about any of your residents is completely private, it's completely secure, and nobody else can access it other than the people that you give permission to. So that could be a family member if they wanted it, it could be the GPs, it could be the social work, you know, literally you have complete control over it, which for some people is a reassurance, because they don't want to start putting their residents' information onto an electronic system when they're not sure who can see that or who's going to be able to have access to it. But in essence, the answer is no one, unless you give them access. So I think that's a question that has come up quite frequently, especially for the care homes who perhaps are very new to the idea of electronic systems, or perhaps haven't quite moved along the line of kind of that digital aspect of care, which is, there's lots and lots and lots. So I'm always quite conscious to make sure that I'm reassuring around the safety of it and the security of information. Obviously, information governance for us in the health service is huge. So it's something that we focus quite a lot on. But I kind of think from a basic kind of user and overarching kind of understanding of the system, that's kind of all I can give you short of kind of going into the nitty gritties, which you don't need me to do that because it won't be very relevant. But I'm really happy to take any questions. If there's something that you think that I haven't mentioned, or that you're like, oh, actually, I think I would quite like to know that. I'm open to you asking me absolutely anything. There's always a question that I haven't heard yet and I might not know the answer to. But if it's about any of the actual kind of the programming technicalities of it all, I'm going to be really open and say I don't really know, but I can give it a shot. But yeah, so that's that. And obviously, the other really important thing is it's free there's no cost to you for us to give you the equipment. We have NHS England funding to be able to purchase the kits and the licensing, so we give it to you for free. Like I said, the only thing we ask for is that our care home matrons are given access to your units. That's the only obligation that we kind of put on it. Other than that, they're yours to use as you choose to use them, basically. But yes, I think that's pretty much everything from me. So like I say, if there's any questions, then please do ask me, or my email is on the end of the slides. So feel free to email me if you don't want to ask it here. But yeah, I'll stop now.
Well, thank you very much, Sharon. That was a presentation and a half. And I must say, if I was still running care home, I'd be going for it. But has anybody got any questions? Please do ask, because Sharon's here and she's been doing it for a while, so she is an expert. She will be able to tell you about it. So any questions? I've got questions, of course, but I'll wait for I'll wait for others first. Okay, if nobody's got questions, so I will start. You mentioned about glucose monitoring. If people wanted glucose monitoring in there, can they have it?
That's a really good question, and one I haven't actually been asked before. So I don't know is the honest answer right now, but it was definitely something that we can have a look at, because like I said, in the original kits, they came with them. So we sent them back because we went into nursing homes originally, we knew that we didn't need them. And I've just seen a question pop up in the group. So one of the reasons why I'm kind of back out on the trail again doing presentations about WHZAN is that we've just received some more funding, which is so good and so exciting. That in fact we got the biggest funding pot out of all the digital programs in Sussex, which I'm very proud about actually, because it was very hard fought for and hard won, and there's some jealous and envious looks around the office. But so we are now allowed to move into care homes that without registered nurses leading, so residential homes, whatever. I can never keep up with exactly what to call it. So I basically just call it care homes without nursing is the overarching term. So the reason why we can do it now is because we've got the funding for a team of staff. So we're going to have a nurse leading the team, an administrator who's been hopefully who will come out and support you to load your caseloads. They will do the face-to-face kind of, this is what it looks like, this is how you do like the back office work of it, and they will come and help you support to do the actual physicality of loading people in, because it is a little bit time consuming. And one of the things that we've learned from the nursing homes is that actually you don't always have PAs, you don't always have people that can do that work for you, whereas we can send somebody into your home with you and work with you and do all of that for you and on your behalf. So that actually that takes an hour, 2 hours. If some of the bigger homes can take up to 2 hours to like kind of load all your people in and put your photos in of all your residents and everything. So and then we'll have a coordinator as well. So we should have a team of 3 that will be instrumental in supporting the care homes, because one of the things that we will be asking the registered nurse that they will be able to do is to actually help to do some of that clinical observation training. So while they're all electronic, it's about just making sure that everybody knows which way round the blood pressure cuff goes, where, you know, if you're not getting reading on one finger, you know, move it to another, warm the hand up, you know, etc., etc. So just doing those the extra touches of helping your staff be really secure in knowing what they're doing and how they're doing it. Because one of the other things that we fully appreciate and that we've learned the hard way through working with the nursing homes is that obviously your staff turnover at times is quite high. And so there's a reliant on the train the trainer model on most things nowadays, let's face it. So we know that actually if you don't have people that are in your care home who were trained originally to use it, they move on to another care home, which they take that knowledge with them. There isn't always someone left behind that is then confident to train other members of staff. So one of the things that our team will be doing, and which we have been doing on a very informal basis up to now, is that they will be going back out and recontacting people and just chasing up to make sure that everybody's happy with the kit that they're using, and that you're confident in how you're doing it. And if you get new staff, we will come back in and we will help repeat that same process again. So but because because as a health service, we have to make sure that we are clinically robust if we're offering a service in a clinical way. That's why we have to have a registered nurse to lead our team. We can't just do it with like non-registrants, because they will hold a little bit of that clinical kind of responsibility to ensure that your escalation plans are clear and that they're confident that within the home that you're all happy with what you're doing. So it's a much more supportive model that we will be rolling out, hopefully as of April. So I know I'm shortlisting tomorrow, so there'll be interviews going on, and then hopefully staff in place. So yeah, so to answer the question directly after all of that ramble is yes, we will be going to residential homes, and hopefully as of the beginning of April, we will actually be able to kind of get the boxes out to you. So yes, basically. But glucose monitors is a good question, Nada, and I will need to have a dig and see if we can, because again, with the clinical governance around glucose monitors in residential homes with regards to the training of it, because we aren't allowed to train it, but we obviously know people that can and people that do. So we could work in partnership to do something, but that may well be on a home by home basis as opposed to everywhere to everybody, if that makes sense.
There is another question, Sharon, and it is, do you need to have digital record keeping in place in order to use the systems? I'm not keen read digital records.
I understand completely. And no, and I'm going to be really brutally honest here, because I always am. It's actually easier to use WHZAN without a digital social care record, because there's no other system that you need to worry about. It's just WHZAN, and then it will save some of your paper records that you're currently using. It will save the inaccuracy of people forgetting that they haven't done all of the steps needed to create, a robust clinical picture, or sorry, I've just seen your comment. Yeah, but equally, people that do have the digital social care records, obviously we kind of implemented these parallel to each other, and some areas were using WHZAN, then got their DCSR, and then couldn't use WHZAN because then there was a duplication of activity. And as a clinician, I will never ever ask anybody to duplicate their documentation or activity. No one's got time for that, frankly. And D, yes, you are. Absolutely, you are. Everything's a trial, let's face it, in the NHS. It's all a project and a trial. So, but we will do everything we can to support you to trial it, hopefully with a view of you going, oh yes, we love it and we'll keep it. So but yeah, so whether you've got a electronic record or not, it doesn't matter. In a way it's easier without, but equally the ones with, like I said, we've been working with most of the providers in Sussex. So hopefully if you're a residential home, from April, hopefully, but we will have a list of people that want them, and we will go there first, and then we'll be working on the people that perhaps either haven't heard or are a bit unsure, and then we'll go there. So we'll kind of phase it through the areas. But if you know you want one and you're eager, we will make sure that you're, on that first wave of people to get one. Because as we found with the nursing homes, there were people that, oh yeah, we'll have it. But because we couldn't support them very well, or enough that we thought, as much as we were hoping we would be able to, it then meant that actually they didn't get the support that they needed to implement it fully through their homes, because we totally get your system is so busy. You know, we're all busy, but I've worked in nursing homes, care homes over the years. I know what pressures you're under, and there's no pressure from us in any way, shape or form. You don't have to have this, but what you will find is that it is a time saver once you're using it. And I definitely wouldn't say that if that wasn't true. I'm not a salesperson because I'm too honest. I'm a bit like, yeah, it's a bit rubbish, frankly. But, you know, like I say, I'm very honest about, there are challenges depending on your digital record as to whether or not WHZAN is useful to you, because some of them it doesn't link with yet. It will, but it doesn't yet. So if that is the case, I would be open and say, this might not be the right time for you to take this on now, but at some point when your record's up and running and WHZAN have finally managed to get that link through, then absolutely that would be the right time to kind of circle back to it. Oh, circle back, I hate that phrase. To kind of come back to it and then see how you're getting on. But equally, some people have got a social record and WHZAN that don't talk to each other, but actually they're quite happy to run them in parallel, because the use of WHZAN gives their staff, and especially their non-clinical staff, much more confidence in looking after and recognizing people that maybe are deteriorating, or those people that are a bit like, oh, they could go one way or the other, I'm not really sure at the moment. So by using WHZAN, you can actually get a really good picture of what they're doing through the day or through a week. They're not wearables, you take them on and off. So we kind of technical detail, we often give about 1 per 30 people, depending on your geography. If you're on more than one floor, or you're a bit of a spread across quite a large kind of footprint, we would give more than 1 per 30 if that works. We want them to work for you. Absolutely. So everything is completely negotiable. But Dee, I think we need to convince you. I don't know what I need to do to convince you, but I'll send Andrew round. That wasn't a threat. I meant as in Andrew's our admin. Sorry, Andrew's our like absolute system user expert, and he would willingly come and just sit and show you the unit, go through it with you with no pressure, just so that you get an understanding. It's difficult to kind of, I'm a seer, I need to see it to understand. So I can't do that. This might make you, I don't know. But yeah, and in the meanwhile, if anybody wants to have a run through with it, we do have a chap called Andrew who's our current admin. He will come out to you and just walk you through it, and then you'll have a much better idea of what it is and what it means, and what everything else is around it as well as. So that's something that we can do even before April to help you kind of get to grips with kind of what it is, because I appreciate it's brand new for some people, so it's always a bit scary.
Question, I think one part of it you've answered. When can the boxes be available? That's April. How many sessions would you be able to provide the staff teams? And it can be very difficult to get everyone together at once.
Absolutely. I would say as many as it needs, actually, as many as it needs, because one of the things that we've very much learned is that we can go in, we can give a box, we can show you how to use it. That doesn't necessarily mean anybody's going to use it. You know, we've pulled a couple out that spent 2 years under the stairs. So because there was nobody there to then follow up that first initial kind of session. So we're very much, we're very conscious and very aware that it won't be a, here's your box, here's your session, off you go. It will be a repeat. And if it means 3 or 4, or, you know, you have a few in a week, another in a couple of weeks later, and then we come back again 6 weeks later, just to, you know, just to really see how you're getting on. That's what we will do, because we've got the money we've got the staffing, we've got funding for a whole year to do this now. So we've got that. I don't know what to say to that. There's no application as such. I mean, you're more than welcome to drop me an email and I will put you into my list of homes. Just need kind of who you are, where you are, what the name of your care home is. And we're kind of creating a list. We've got a few people on it already who have already got in contact. So like I said, at the moment, it's very informal. There's no what's the right words? You don't have to fit a criteria. As long as you are an adult sorry, there is a criteria. You have to be a CQC registered adult care home that isn't mental health or learning disabilities, unfortunately, because we have to sit under our EHCH remit. So they're the care homes that we're allowed to kind of go into, because they're the ones that we have input to. But other than that, that's it. Are you a care home? Yes. Shall I? Oh, I'll put it in the chat, actually, my email, so that then if you've got any questions outside of this, then obviously you are more than welcome to get in contact directly with me. So how's that? Is that all right?
And you can by all means contact me and I'll pass your details to Sharon.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? I've got 2 more questions, if that's all right. And one question is the equipment, does the equipment belong to the home, or is it just loaned to the home? And who does the calibrating and maintenance of the equipment?
Right. So it's on loan as such, but we won't ask for it back until the licenses run out and we run out, or I run out of people to bully for money. So at the moment it's ongoing. Like I said, we've had them for 2 years. We've had funding to go for another year, but the licenses themselves, the staff group have funded for a year. The licenses themselves, I think, are, I should know, I negotiated the contract, another 2, maybe 3 years. So when you get it, you'll have at least 2 years under license. The equipment is guaranteed for use under those licenses, for, as in they don't need recalibrating within that time. They're not designed to really need recalibrating as such. If there's issues with them, WHZAN have a hotline. You just call them up, it's free, and you just say there's an issue with my BP cuff, and they will discuss it with you. They'll troubleshoot it over the phone, and if need be, they'll sort out a replacement. So there's a really good kind of support package that comes from WHZAN with it. So the only thing that you're kind of not covered is loss or breakages. If you break it, unfortunately, you have to replace it. But that's, same with anything really, isn't it? But yeah. So did you ask me anything? What else did you ask me now? I forgot.
No, you've answered it.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Potentially, Dee, yes, I would say yes, but again, I'm not 100% sure. To be honest, Andrew will know the answers to those questions because he's very much been the man out on the street with it all. I've just been kind of trying to organise him, if I'm honest. But those kind of questions, definitely Andrew will know the answers to, but also the WHZAN kind of team, I can ask very specific questions around what is and what isn't covered with under kind of the offer that we give. But so far, I think we've had a couple where the BP machines have not been too hot. So they've been sent back and they've just been replaced same week. They get them, they send them back, you send it back, they send you a new one. Often the other thing is we've noticed that you have to use Duracell batteries. Any of the like non-Duracell batteries aren't quite powerful enough, certainly for the BP cuff. That's the only other really thing that we've noticed that is from a technical aspect of the use of the kit. Most of it seems to be fairly trouble-free, but like I said, WHZAN are really good at helping sort out any technical details or any issues with the kit itself. So yeah, I agree, Dee, absolutely. But yeah, so if that's everything, I can probably run away.
Well, thank you very much indeed. So if you are interested, do get in touch with Sharon or get in touch with me and I'll put you in contact with Sharon. Just because you talk about it and just because somebody comes around and shows you the blue box, etc., doesn't mean you have to go ahead with it. So it's not, and from what I've heard, the support is very good. People come along and we'll help you and we support you to use it. I can see a lot of use for it. So if you're interested, do let us know.
Oh, poor Dee. I'm not sure. I'll have to warn him. But it'll be interesting. I would be interested for Andrew to come and see you, Dee, actually, and just to see if he can convince you of the merits. There's no pressure.
I will send you all the slides once Sharon sends them to me, and I will send you the recording as well. So hopefully we will hear from you soon. Thank you very much, Sharon. That was very, very informative. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you very much, everybody, for giving me your time. Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.